Hi again, Brian Beneduz coming to you from my favorite part to read about my book, Scared to Death, Do It Anyway. And I'm coming to you from my boat, and we just got done with chapter 8, and I'm going to get right back into chapter 9. Chapter 8 was all about guilt, which could take up over 30 minutes of a conversation. So we'll get right into 9. 9 is titled Success. The difference between a successful person and others is not lack of strength, not lack of knowledge, but rather lack of will. Vince Lombardi. Every person defines success a different way. It can mean anything to anybody. For some, success might mean attaining worldwide fame. For others, success could mean receiving critical acclaim for their original artwork or reaching distinction at the top of their chosen field. And for some, success is measured in the form of wealth and large financial rewards. For many others, success is defined more humbly. It could mean making the team, getting a new job, or securing a great promotion. Or it could mean falling in love, raising a family, or just leading a simple, quiet, happy life. And sometimes, especially for those of us afflicted with anxiety and panic attacks, success comes measured in moment-to-moment doses, too. Can I get over that bridge? Will I make it up to the top in the elevator? Can I get through this meeting? It doesn't seem fair to have to fight with one hand tied behind your back, but it is important to know that no matter how severe the attacks may be, every kind of success you could dream of is still very possible. But whether afflicted or not, unless you're born with the vocal cords of Frank Sinatra or can throw a fastball with precision at 95 miles per hour, you're probably like me and will have to go to work to earn the money you need to make those dreams come true. I don't believe in the old saying, find something you love and you'll never have to work a day in your life, to be the best advice. In my opinion, it's better to find something you can make money at, then go off and do the things that you love to do. I didn't wake up one morning thinking, hey, I got a great idea. Why don't I become a multimillionaire selling empty plastic bottles? For me, success came when I simply recognized an opportunity. Over the years, while battling anxiety and panic, I was able to build a plastics packaging company from scratch that turned 10 and 15-cent items into over 20 million in sales. We're not selling $250,000 Lamborghinis or $3 million yachts here either. We've achieved our success literally 15 cents at a time. It took years of getting my ass kicked while trying to get my foot in the door of customers who did not want to see me, and when all the while dealing with horrible bouts of anxiety and panic. When I first started, suppliers literally laughed in my face. They just couldn't figure out how a kid in his 20s could possibly survive in this business. Why should they sell their empty containers to me if they could just as easily sell them to someone or some company that was more established? My company, Ocean State Packaging, is all about sales. I believe that selling is the hardest and most important job in any business. I'm not talking here about the clerk at your local store who might sell you a washing machine, a pair of shoes, or a candy bar across the counter. I'm talking about a professional salesperson who needs to cold call a potential new customer hundreds of miles away, then try and establish a relationship with that customer while battling over 1,200 other hard-nosed competitors. Sometimes it could take as many as 5 to 10 visits or more, driving or flying over the course of months, only to be turned away with a handshake or a passing of a business card. Thanks for coming in. Maybe next time. See you in a few weeks. This is real selling. Got to get to know the customer in a very short period of time, get them to like you, get them to trust you, and finally get them to try your product, and then buy it from you. Yet I do not consider myself a salesman, and I never refer to my sales staff as salesmen either. To me, good salespeople are relationship people, just as I am. But in real life, I'm a dad, a husband, a baseball coach, and a lot of other things too. And I recognize those characteristics in all of our staff, as we expect them to recognize those same traits in our clients. At the time, there were over 1,500 blow molding companies in North America, and there were over 2,000 plastic brokers and distributors that we had to compete with every day. I love to brag that Ocean State Packaging is one of the premier plastics packaging companies in the country. Many of our clients are second, third, and fourth generation customers, a fact unheard of in this business that is well known for astronomical turnover rate. I need to mention that bringing in my brother, Stephen, as well as Brian Plotz, who is also considered family, has been the turning point at Ocean State Packaging and a tribute to its rise and continued success. I love this company, and I feel a great source of personal pride in it. My road to success while building this company and dealing with anxiety and panic has been long and arduous, and I accept that if I had any hope of success in my life, I needed to do three things better than anyone. First, I needed to listen and trust very smart people. Second, I needed to study how to make my limited resources work for me through commercial real estate, stock, bonds, and other investment vehicles. And third, I needed to read, and read some more. I did not attend college. Instead, I chose to study at the School of Real World, where success isn't measured by a diploma or plaque hanging on the office wall, but by how big the number is at the bottom of a company's balance sheet. It is not my intent to downplay formal higher education here, but it just wasn't my path. When you need a brain surgeon, you better believe that their education, master's degree, doctorate, residency program, and reputation are critical to your decision and treatment. But I don't deal with life and death in my world. Success here is measured by nothing other than how large that black number is in the bottom line. Understand, too, that it is hard enough for me to talk about my anxiety, never mind talk about my financial success. It feels unnatural. But to understand me and what I have endured, I accept that it's important also to understand where I've landed. I have built a successful business that has given me boats, cars, vacation homes, and all the wonderful freedoms that money can buy to bring to anyone. But more important than that, I have two incredible kids and a loving wife, without whose strength and support I wouldn't have achieved a thing, even though she was blind to the chaos I was going through. And I know it still pains her to read about it now. Our company also employs hundreds of people who rely on the income we generate to support their own families, husbands, wives, and children, and I consider that a big part of our success too. Most readers have likely never heard of Ocean State Packaging, and that's okay. But millions have seen and used our bottles at auto dealerships, hospitals, hairdressers, restaurants, pharmacies, drugstores, gas stations, and all the major retail and wholesale chains, and many of the best hotels in the world. Today, when I walk into a random store somewhere and happen to notice one of our bottles on the shelf, I smile as I always remember the story behind it. And there really is a story behind every one of them, I promise. Some of these stories have me running in panic out of a waiting room, or listening to the theme from Rocky, while trying to build up the motivation and momentum I needed to simply survive a 15-minute conversation with another human being. If you happen to suffer from anxiety and panic attacks, I invite you to lay your own stories of fear and embarrassment over mine. Perhaps my stories can serve as a template in some way. Then use my thoughts and achievements to help you realize that you don't need to live that way, that success is possible, that there is a way out, and that fighting yourself is not the answer. Growing up and working in my father's struggling company, I dreamed I would be a millionaire someday. I could even visualize myself on a yacht cruising across Narragansett Bay on a warm summer afternoon. Personally, I find it difficult to believe anyone who tells me they don't want to be a millionaire. If you were offered $1 million paycheck every year for the rest of your life, would you really be eager to turn it down? Looking back, of course, I would have loved to have had somebody just hand me money so that I wouldn't have to worry. But that didn't happen, and I had no safety net below me to lessen my anxiety and break my fall. As I write this, sitting outside a building that I own, I can look up and say with confidence that I made this. I did not inherit it. This is a tremendous satisfaction in knowing that. You will never hear me blame anyone for the bad things that have happened in my life. Good or bad, it was my life. I chose the path. I made the mistakes. I chose to become wealthy. I chose to outwork everybody. I chose to overcome the anxiety and the panic. So I choose to define success for the purpose of this book to be about achievement, financial security, and freedom. That doesn't mean I don't recognize and appreciate the many other successes I've experienced along the way. Signing every new customer was a success. Every good grade my kids brought home was a success. Every victory on the ball field was a success. Every family vacation was a success, and on and on. There is a line in the Michael Douglas movie, Wall Street, that says, "The point is, ladies and gentlemen, that greed, for lack of a better word, is good." Well, as long as you don't hurt someone, and on some level I tend to agree with that, there is nothing wrong with wanting. We all want something. Greed is similar to ego. As long as you learn and understand which part of your ego is good and which part isn't, like sorting out good habits from bad habits, it will work in your favor. Wanting a good thing badly enough can be a powerful and constructive motivator. Once you learn what anxiety and panic attacks are and how to use them to your advantage, you will no longer fear the next job, the next interview. You will no longer fear the next opportunity, and you will no longer fear taking risks like starting your own business. As I often say, anxiety lives in the future, not in the present. The only thing stopping you from achievement is not you, it's your thoughts. I can only imagine what I would have accomplished over the course of the last 35 years without carrying around the baggage of these crippling panic attacks. Again, I am in no way saying woe is me. It's just the way it is. I now accept that. I am blessed and grateful to be living the life I've always dreamed about. It reminds me of the REO Speedwagon song, "Live Every Moment," that I used to play over and over again for motivation. Live every moment, love every day, because if you don't, you might just throw your love away. The song was a little motivational pill I would use back in the 80s. God, I wish the effect didn't wear off just a few minutes after the song ended, though. Because after the endorphins died down, I would retreat back to that scary place in my thoughts again. But now I'm here to tell you I made it through to the other side, even with one hand tied behind my back. And all this from a company started in a bedroom by a guy too terrified to leave it. I actually have the chills reading that. I have water in my eyes reading that because it's a very emotional chapter. The REO Speedwagon is everything is true. I don't have to keep saying it's true. But yeah, there's a part of me that's every once in a while, the chapter Guilt prior to this chapter was put in there for a reason. Because when I talk about this chapter is all about success. And essentially it should nullify the guilt chapter, but it really doesn't, because guilt doesn't leave you. It's innate, and it's always going to be there. What I really want to say is that chapter was very difficult for me to write. That was a chapter that I was almost tied down by my co-author, my partners, and said, you have to write a little about yourself so people will understand what you do. Not this particular bottle, but this is an empty plastic container. Blow molding machines are actual machines that manufacture these containers. And there's a picture in my book. I won't pull it up and show it to you because my dad's working on one. But I used to be the mechanic on those. When you sell these containers, you're actually selling an empty plastic container to a company that utilizes them. Now, you could have one particular bottle that 20 companies use, or you could have what's called a proprietary mold, which in this case, Lysol. This is a mold owned by them, and your job is to go in and say, Mr. So-and-so, I would really like your mold to be in my manufacturing facility, and I would like to mold it for you. I was extremely good at communicating valuable information about blow molding. I knew it. I was a mechanic for years. I started in my teens working in my father's company, getting my hands dirty, getting stitches on machines. I did all that, and I worked my way up. But I always wanted to sell. And that was the part that was like this because of my anxiety and my panic. And I never could sell comfortably. When I give my talks, I talk about two things: getting comfortable in uncomfortable situations, as well as trying to get to the second first impression. I'm going to talk about the second first impression for a few minutes, and that'll be it. Getting to the customer, I've already described, was a feat in itself. Getting there, the anxiety, the bridges, the tunnels, the feelings, the thoughts, the imaginations, the bad, everything you can think of that's horrible. Now picture doing that while you're in a business suit and trying to get that customer to entrust his business, essentially his job, to me. Because if I screw up, it's his reputation that's on the line, or hers reputation that's on the line, and it will affect their business somehow. In addition to a guy like me, 1,200, 1,500 other people like me are trying to get their business. In addition to what's called brokers, which are people that just rep various companies and also are in there trying to get their business. So you can imagine the competition. But this video is not about that, and that's the success part is not about that. It's about me overcoming the first minute and a half to 2 minutes of hyperventilating, sweating, complete and utter chaos going around in my head, and finally getting to the point, and I call it levels, of a comfortable level where I can be real Brian, and I can get my message of what I can deliver to these companies successfully. And that was the hard part. The successful part is I did it. A lot of times I didn't, but I did it more times than I failed. And knowing me, knowing the book, if you're following me and you've heard my talks, you can imagine what crippling anxiety is like trying to do this. Now, if you're at a computer at home and you're doing things on a computer, it doesn't matter, because you're sitting in your home, could be in your underwear, and you're doing your job. I have to get there and convince these people to purchase from me. Not only buy from me, but to entrust their job, their company, sometimes the owners, with me. And the successful part, and the thing I'm proud about, and the reason I watered up so much after reading that, is it is Wednesday, September 21st. It is 4 o'clock, and I just got back from a boat ride on Narragansett Bay, because summer is over today or tomorrow, and I made it. I did it. And everybody's comfortable, and everything is good. My company is growing. And I look back on it now, and the last thing I'll say for the last 20 seconds, I wish it would erase the guilt, but it doesn't. But I'm also here to tell you that I am successful. I'm saying out loud, I am successful. I thank God, I thank my family, and who knows, maybe this tortured path that I've been through, and I say it many times, is the path that was meant for me, to become successful, but also to teach you to get over your fears the right way and become successful at what it is you want to become. So God bless. Thank you for listening, and onward we go. Take care.